I always tell the parents at the parent meeting, I mean, you're going to, on your deathbed, are you going to be laying there and saying to your son, man, I wish you would have played more? I mean, it's going to be, or one more, or I wish you would have won that state title game. Or I think it's going to be more about how much you love each other. That's about it. So what are we going to do is learn through basketball and sports in general to be better husbands and sons and friends and things like that. And then the winning will take care of itself.
Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. Today we're joined by the head boys basketball coach at Billings Central Catholic High School in Montana, Jim Stergar. Coach Stergar is in his 28th year as a head coach. He spent 5 seasons at Ronan High School, winning a divisional championship and playing for a state title, followed by 9 years at Billings Senior High School, where he finished third at the 2010 state tournament. Now in his 14th season at Billings Central, Coach Stergar has led his teams to 4 divisional championships, 6 state championship game appearances, and 2 state titles. Coach Stergar's overall record is 402 wins and 225 losses. He's a 2-time Montana Coach of the Year, has been nominated 10 times for the award, and was nominated for National Coach of the Year by the NHSACA in 2025. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at JAMODI Podcast. Coaches and athletic directors, Scoreboard Media is partnering with schools across the country to upgrade facilities, increase funding, and create meaningful student engagement through fully funded LED digital scoreboards. Now with custom score tables installed in just weeks, you can elevate your gym even faster at no cost. With a fully managed sponsorship program, your school receives consistent funding that goes directly to your students and programs. The result? Upgraded facilities, stronger school pride, and deeper connections with your community. Powered by Scoreboard Media. Email info@scoreboardmedia.com to get started. Coach, how are we doing?
Good. How are you?
I can't complain. Just thankful that you would give up a little bit of time on a Sunday afternoon when you and I are both pretty busy right now, but that you'd give up this time to talk hoops with me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's the best. I mean, it's not a job. It's fun.
That's right. Yep, that's right. I want to give a quick shout out to Coach Josh Stewart for connecting us in the first place. His episode that we were able to do a few years ago now is still, in my opinion, is one of the most transformational talks that I've been able to be a part of. He's incredible. So wanted to give him a thanks before you and I launched.
Oh yeah, he's been amazing. I mean, just his son's great too, but Josh is just salt of the earth. It's fun to be around. Positive.
Yeah, one of my big takeaways from that talk was that idea of we hear the fake it till you make it idea or talk. And when I've said that to players, and he said it was just one of the worst things that we can ever say to our young men or our players. And instead of learning to fake it, let's face it, and we'll keep facing it until we make it. That has been something that at my school, it's been on the board, something that I've just never forgotten that he shared.
It's good. We talk about it. He brought that into us too, and we chat about that all the time with our teams. So any little bit inside or outside guys bringing in new stuff like that has been really good.
Yep. And I also wanted to thank you because we have had opportunities to talk a little bit through Twitter, and you shared something with me, the Hog Weasel Game. And I saw a video on it. I thought that looks really interesting. I haven't done it yet at Midway where I am, but man, tell me a little bit more about that, how that came around.
Well, I could send you an email that has the history of it and the work behind it. It all the idea came from when I was playing in high school, and our coach did what they called then the little big man game. And you would take all the posts or whatever against guards, and they would have to, posts would have to bring the ball up. It's an inter squad scrimmage basically.
Right.
And the little guys would have to be under the basket, and the posts would have to dribble the ball up the floor for the first time sometimes. And then you play, back in those days, it was just a scrimmage when I was in high school. No one was there. And then when I started coaching, I changed it into the Hog Weasel Game. And it's for the past 28 years, has changed from something like just an inter squad scrimmage where no one came until now. Man, it's been televised on NFHS. We've had radio guys come in and do the radio for the game. News stations come, they've written articles about it. It's been crazy. In the crowd, there's like a freshman JV type crowd that comes to the game, and it's just fun. And then it's kind of like an all-star game. You play it, and then fun for the first 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter they kind of get serious about it because there is the pride on the line there, and it's just fun. It's a great way to break up Christmas break for sure, and have a
Yeah.
competitive scrimmage. I call in usually ex players to be referees, and then sometimes I'll referee. So the Weasels are dominating over the last 20 some years, and so I'm a Weasel for life, is what we say. So I'll make calls against the Hogs, and then I'll usually bring in a Hog referee and a Weasel referee, and usually try and get 2 or 3 guys to come in and do it, and they just have fun with it. It's fun.
Where'd the names come from?
I don't know. That's a good question. Back when I first started coaching as a head coach in Ronan, Montana, that's kind of when we changed the name. We even have T-shirts that we order. And I usually, being a Weasel, I order 10 sizes for the Weasels to win. And so when the Hogs win, then they're all tight and they're small, and they're like, why are these so small? And I always tell them I ordered for the Weasels, to win. And it says Hog Weasel on there. And I don't know if somebody suggested Hog Weasel, but it's the stock sense.
You said that the Weasels have won a bunch. Is that the more of the guard group?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Interesting right there.
And I've had over the years, I've had some Weasels that were kind of stocky, maybe a little overweight, and we always make them a hog because of their body type. And then it's funny because they always sign a contract early on to say they're a Weasel or a hog for life or something like that, or a Weasel for life. But like Kevin Durant would be like a Weasel. He's 6'11", but he's a guard and he doesn't like to go inside. Yeah. So he would be a Weasel. Charles Barkley was 6'4". He'd be a perfect hog, example of a hog. So yeah, it's definitely a fun cultural building activity. I guess that's one of the things, to build strong cultures, have things like that along the way.
Something that they remember that's outside of practice, district run, things like that. When I got to Midway, this is my first year here in Waco, Texas. And when I got here, I was interviewing some of the players, and I asked them, what are some of the traditions? What are some of the things that are super special to you that you've done before that we should keep doing? And because I think those are the things that really do, you use the word culture, right? Those are the things that really do make a program special, make them feel like they belong to something that not just anybody gets to do or can do, and probably the things that they remember.
The one, they did a big article, the guy that wrote for the sports here in Billings got this article he wrote on us. He interviewed past players, and you should hear some of their comments about the game. And it is scarred into their memory because they lost as a hog. And yeah, they say something like that. Well, I might not remember who won against such and such, but I do remember we won the Hog Weasel game. So yeah, it's definitely a memory builder and something that they'll.
I like that. I like that. During Christmas break, we do this virtual Christmas card where you get a line of guys together, kind of video camera going, a line of guys, and behind half court, but they have to shoot from not the first volleyball line, but that second one. It's a pretty deep three. They got to shoot from that volleyball line, and they both shoot at the same time. Or one right after the other. So they kind of both go in really quick. And if they both make it, they get to turn around and they get to say Merry Christmas. And the goal is to see how many times you can be in the video, because once 2 people make it, they can't be partners again. And I try to give them all, we give them about 20 to 25 minutes of a Christmas practice to get in this video. You got some guys that are in it 3 or 4 times and only one, but I was always looking for something else. And, Coach, maybe the Hog Weasel game, maybe that's something.
I do need to email that history of the Hog Weasel game for you, to you.
Yes, please.
It is, it's something else. The guy actually that wrote that story, his sports story won the award for best sports story of the year that year. It was hilarious.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was curious. I asked about who's won more, and you mentioned who's won more, but I was interested because with the way basketball is going to a little bit more positionless, guys can do a little bit more. Everybody kind of thinks they're a guard right now. If you look at our roster, it just says guard down it because we're trying to create playmakers. But are you having a harder and harder time filling the hog side of the roster? Or like you said, you can have a small guy, but if he just fits that mold.
I think it's harder to fill the hog roster nowadays for sure. It's funny you say that because I'll probably be the biggest team I've ever coached. Probably next year and the year after we'll have 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", probably, and I've never had anything like that. But though this year I had to bring two of our guards over to the Hogs, and the Hogs end up winning because the Weasels dominate. But that's kind of a dig. I always try and dig the Hog. They came over and they're 6'4". One's a 6'4" guard and one's a 6'5" guard. But we're short Weasel or Hogs just about every year, and so that was a big trade. We usually put out on Twitter, like there's a big trade coming in the Hog Weasel game, more to be announced later, and it'll affect the Vegas line and everything. So we struggle to find that. Speaking like you're saying with today's game, local coach here on the roster in the program, instead of having like guard or forward or center, he has BP on every kid. And we're like, what's BP? And he goes, a basketball player. So that's how he lists his players. He doesn't play
I
him
don't like
his
that.
position. He's BP. And that's, I was thinking about doing it, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to steal his thunder.
I could do that. I could do it though. Down here, I could be the first one. And
Oh yeah.
unless they, listen to this episode and be like, we know you stole that from some guys in Montana. That
Yeah, they
I
probably
like
would.
that. I like that. What was I thinking about? How long does it take for something like the Hog Weasel game to be entrenched in the fabric of what you're doing, where the guys aren't like, yeah, we have some Hog Weasel thing. They look forward to it. They can't wait to be a part of it. How long do you think that takes?
There's on the list of Hog Weasel years, there's 1 year where I go from one school to another school and I'm the assistant coach and we don't have it that year. And it's those kids that in the very next year I took over in that program that I was an assistant coach with. And they were asking me that during that assistant year, like, hey, are we going to have a Hog Weasel? So, boy, I don't know how long it takes. I think it's something that as coaches, you kind of help build and talk
Yeah.
about throughout even the year. It's not just like, hey, remember the Hog Weasel games tonight? We don't do that the season even. And then they wear that shirt as an undershirt. We wear black undershirts like the one I'm wearing for practice. It goes, their tank top goes over the top. And the very next day, those dudes are wearing their black Hog Weasel champion shirt. And then the next year, their Thanksgiving break. And so it's always, I think, they're always asking who's going to be a hog, who's going to be a weasel. Hey, how about so-and-so this year? You're going to make him a weasel. You're going to make him a hog. And so we kind of keep them in suspense and just little things like that put stuff out on Twitter and the kids see it or just mention it. Or usually what I do the week or so before is I'll put on my coach's door sheet of paper about the history of the hog weasel and we'll talk about it. And in the announcements, during practice, I always post the announcements before the practice of saying of the day, make sure you're doing this, getting ready for the week or whatever, the practice schedule's this. And then it'll say something about the Hog Weasel game is scheduled for certain dates. Make sure you tell everybody. I put it out on our band, which we use as our band, is our kind of way of communicating to parents. Hey, the Hog Weasel game is such and such date. This is the history behind it. We want everybody to be there. And so I think it's just the years of building up like that. It probably, if I move to a different school like you, it's going to take maybe 2 or 3 years, I would say, maybe even one after the first year of doing it. You might see that it's something they look forward to, and you're going to have to put your own twist onto it. But, ours is morphed on its own too. I mean, heck, now the winner of the previous year gets to pick which uniform they're going to wear. And it's usually, if it's dark, they wear a dark jersey, and it could be like a Cooper Flag jersey or a Giannis jersey or LeBron jersey or whatever, but it has to be dark. And then the other team has to wear the white, tight tank tops, undershirts, take Sharpie and they put their own uniform or number on it and saying and stuff like that. So it's morphed into those two uniforms. So we have a white uniform and a dark into that they wear certain clothes to come into the the building, and they text me and they say, "Coach, we're all waiting outside. Can you get your video camera and video us coming in?" These players on TV make their entrance and they're wearing some outfit. So these kids do
Right.
something for the Hog Weasel game. It's just hilarious. And they come in and they're wearing hats and glasses, big fur coats, and it's just they did all of that. It's morphed into them taking over that.
I love that. Obviously it's in a really good place when they're taking your ideas or something that you think is fun and taking it to another level. It makes me think a lot about the Panther games is something that I borrowed when I was at my previous school from a coach up in I think Michigan. That we are talking and he said something about the games that they play. I think the Bulldog games or something like that. He sent me some things, but it's basically just the 1 minute games that you could see at any camp or party, that you go to and like one is can you move a choreo from your forehead to your mouth without using your hands? We do some other things with cups and tennis balls and things or ping pong balls, but the Panther games, you split them up into teams, they create their name, they create their uniform. I have a trophy now that I found in the back of our equipment room from the 60s, this huge trophy that doesn't really mean anything. We're going to put the names of the winners on it, and but that's already something that like they can't wait for till the next. I do it every spring,
Yeah.
basically the last week of the school year. But it's just like the Hog Weasel game. What what can we do to make it fun, to build memories? And but also I think what that does is it helps all of those times where we do need to be serious and we do need to be locked in and we do need to focus on something that's really important that's coming up. They're able to do that even more because of these little breaks or the little bits of fun that allow them to still be teenagers and enjoy being a part of the program.
Yeah, I totally believe that giving them a little space and time and space on to have without making them feel like they have to be at practice. I've always said that to my assistant coaches. We can't have them dreading coming to practice. This is from of the season all the way through tournaments. They need to be fresh every time they come in and practice. They can't be dreading practice. And that's up to us to build that part of the culture of having it stay fun for them, not get burned out in 4 months. Long season. Basketball is a long season. Probably the longest season in Montana for sure for the sports we have in Montana.
And we take their Thanksgiving break, we take their Christmas break. They know all their friends are doing trips and they're just sitting at home and they still have to come up there. So why not? A couple questions on some of the things that you've said already so far. One, you mentioned keeping practice fresh and them wanting them to have fun and look forward to it. I'm completely agree with you there. The idea, I love Hoosiers, but I think he was wrong. And one part of that is when my practices are not meant for your enjoyment. And then I also think Coach Boone in Remember the Titans, great movie. I think he was wrong in Zero Fun, Sir. That no, like let's make it enjoyable. I don't think that zero or fun doesn't mean we're not serious or working hard. I reject that idea that you can't do both. When you're talking about keeping it fresh, are you repeating drills often or games in practice or constantly rotating them and having them do new ones to keep it fresh? What are your thoughts there?
Well, I mean, I'm a firm believer. Well, I'll give you an example. I remember talking to one of my former players who's now a coach at Butte High, and he played for the University of Montana. And I remember him telling me that they got they got beat on the boards one game, and so the whole next two practices all they did was rebounding drills. And I'm like, well, you learn, and everything I've ever done coaching, I've stolen from somebody else. I've learned, I don't think I've had an original thought in my life, but we practice or try to practice in a 2-day period every part of the game. And so we close out every day. And if we rotate the same or a different drill to try and get the same result in doing good closeouts. So they don't get bored or burned out like we're talking is we're doing the same drill. They don't get that we're doing the same thing with
Yeah.
a different drill and some stuff, but and practicing against certain movements every day. And so then when it comes time to play a team and they're running the chin action, they're like, hey, we do this every day. We don't
Right.
need to scout them because they run chin. You should know this is the movement to use. And so it's stuff that you practice and try and drill and fundamentally drill. Fundamentals every day, but cover just about every aspect of the game from opening tip to special situations weekly. And so then when it comes down to something beats you at the end of a game, you don't sit there and go, wow, you need to start working on that. Oh, we've been working on that. Or there's 6 seconds left in a game and you have the ball on the side out. Well, this is what you're running because this is what we always run. But we use different drills to rep it, to keep them fresh, to keep them, I guess, not believing that it's different, but it is a different drill doing the same thing, I guess.
I love that. I think it's a great idea that I've borrowed or worked on a little bit too. I like to play a lot of fast basketball games where it just gets us having some type of not disadvantage, but extra motivation. One of my favorites is 5 seconds to the world. The world is that big circle. We just try to get the ball there in the half court. And so, but 5 seconds, as soon as leather touches your fingertips, that 5 seconds begins. And you have to race, your team has to race, and you got to get the ball in the world. You can score from there, but then after the ball is out of there, the time no longer exists, and you can just play that possession out. But the big thing is that they can't dribble across half court. So to your point of we want them working on closeouts and all those things, whatever the constraint is or whatever the skill is, yeah, as coaches, let's get creative and let's find use X, use YouTube and find new ways to do those same skills and things because I want my teams to up it. We know that we play the fastest, we get the best attacks, and we create the most space when we're playing quicker in transition. What kills that? Dribbling across half court. So make that a turnover, make it illegal. Coaches, want proof your players are working? Bology tracks every shot and generates workouts on the spot. No more guesswork. Train smarter today. Download the free Bology app. The rebounding one is tough, and I claim to not be a very good rebounding coach. I don't even though I played and I was a good rebounder, I don't know if it's never translated, but one thing I'm trying to grow in is instead of a full practice of blockout drills, how do I make offensive rebounds mean more to us and then also make it hurt the other team even more? Well, add 3 points to it. If we're playing to 11 and you give 3 points for every offensive rebound, you'll be getting the crashing that you want. But hopefully what it does over time is translates to I'm tired of losing because we're giving them second chances. And that's 3 points every time. Coach, it's working a little bit, maybe not as fast as you gave up an offensive rebound. I'm going to run you to death. I just don't do that. Maybe I would get the immediate result, but I want that long lasting of this is just a habit I do. Just to kind of go right along, I think, with what you've been saying.
So do you do that at practice then, a game to 3 points, or do you chart that during a game?
Everything, no, this would be in practice. Everything in practice for the most part are competitive games where I like to start off with the gauntlet. The gauntlet is a series of 4 games that Texas Fire is a one-on-one full court game because sometimes I just think he's got to be able to guard a guy. Like we kind of get everybody along the side of the alley or the lane line extended, and 2 dudes just play, but it's white versus black in those jerseys, and we're keeping score the whole time. But every offensive rebound that White gets in that game, that's 3 points, and along with 1s and 2s, and then 2-on-2 closeouts, no middle. We're really trying to work on how we close out, and then we peel switch off of that. But we're keeping those like offense knows if I miss a layup, man, just go get it, fellas. We'll get 3 points for that. And then some type of fast basketball game with a little bit of disadvantage defense to work on our scramble in the half court a little more. But like you said, these are the things that I really want to get better at: guarding the ball, blocking out. I want to work on our speed and our pace, and then transition defense, offense, because that's a huge part of the game. There are so many games we can play. I've been guilty of being stale in the past, coach, of just keeping us doing the same thing, thinking we'll get better at that. We'll get better at that game. Well, maybe, but how could I make it more fun? And to where that hour 15 now at this point in the year, or hour 30 goes by like that. But yeah, the 3 points always in practice.
I had a kid who transferred in, and he transferred from a school that wasn't very good. He led the state in rebounding, and he came and played for us. He led the state in rebounding, 11 rebounds a game. Comes to us, and he's averaging like 5 rebounds a game. And we're drilling boxing out. We got to box out. And we were on this kid's butt all the time about boxing out. And then as coaches, we're standing there going, this kid, he's never boxed out a kid in his life. Maybe we should just let him go get a rebound. And so he was one of those kids that just could sniff out a rebound. And so we kind of said to him, hey, why don't you just go do what you usually do? And he went from 5 to about 8. But as a team, we usually rebound. He was doing something that he wasn't used to doing. And we just kind of turned him loose. So I don't know. Sometimes it's like, just go get the ball. And then sometimes it's like, hey, you need to be fundamental.
I think we can out-coach it, Coach.
Yeah.
I think we can out-complicate it. Like closeouts. I taught the choppy feet for a long time, and my coach did it too in college. I could choppy feet with the best of them. I still remember Kirk Heinrich just drilling threes on me, like just making it. It didn't matter how choppy I was and how good my hands were. But then, guys like Mark Cat, that's where I feel like having these talks is great. But then find some of those dudes out there that are challenging things, like our deeply held habits as coaches. Mark Cassio is one of those guys, Tyler Costin, there's others, but like the hockey stop. And that to me does seem a little bit more natural, and it can help me to explode the direction that I want a little bit more than the choppy feet. But then I asked Coach Cassie, I was like, man, hey, we want to go no middle this year. So there's going to be a lot of moving on the flight of the ball, but then trying to and the way he says it is every catch to be a dribble and every dribble to be a pass. And I like that idea of when we're going, we want every guy that catches it to have to put it down. But I said, well, what do you do for closeouts? He was like, I've never really taught one. I just don't want them to shoot it. So get to him, get to that shoulder, make him put the ball down. And it's kind of like your rebound thing. Just go get it. Go get it. I think we overcomplicate it.
Yeah. And when we close out, we used to do the choppy stuff now. And our language now is basically like what you're saying. I don't even know how. I have a coach that does our defense for us, and I don't even know how he says it, but we don't say the choppy feet. We just talk about our hands being in a certain place and making sure that our butts to the basket and being on the forcing to the middle. So you just be on whatever side, shoulder, not opening up. But the hockey stop, is that what you called it?
Yeah, hockey stop. It's basically like when guys are running sideline to sideline. Let's just say we call it UNLV, 16 in a minute, and then 12, then 8, then 4, right, all the way down. They never choppy feet. They go 1, 2, and change and push. Like that's the most athletic way to do it. Is that hard hockey stop where you turn your hips and feet and you push the other way. I don't even know where I heard it from, but I just like that idea. It makes sense to me, and if we can just have them know the idea. And that's what basically what you and I are talking about is how can we simplify this thing so that they can play instinctively rather than, okay, I'm 3/4 of the way. My hands should be up now. And after my hands are up, then I need to sink my butt and start to chop my feet. Oh, but I got to make sure I'm at the right. It's already done. Like we're too late, man. You missed it. Yeah. So we want them to be instinctive, but then do things the right way too.
Yeah, so we call that sweet 16s, I think, what you call your 16 and 12 and 8 and 4.
Not so sweet, but I like it.
The kids hate sweet 16. And then Kobe, I mean, I have jerseys back behind me because I worked Kobe's camp twice and hung around that guy. I'll tell you, people thought I'm intense. There's nothing close to that guy. But he used to pull out some campers and tell them, if you can run a sweet 6 or a 17 in 1 minute, and you have to touch the line with your hand, 10 guys. And he would say, if all 10 of you guys can do this, you'll get a pair of Kobe's. And Kobe stole it from Jordan because Jordan used to do it at his camps. And Jordan would say, okay, you 10 guys think you're the fastest, whatever. If you guys can do this, then everybody gets a pair of Jordans. And so Kobe did it too. And he'd make them go 17 in a minute. And there's always a couple kids that can do it on our squad, but most of them can't. And especially if you have to reach down and touch. And if one person does not do it, then it's the void for everybody. But yeah, the 17 is even tougher than 16, but you only do the 17 once. You don't have to go 16, 12, 8, and 2, 4.
You make them try the 17 one time?
I will, instead of having them do the Sweet 16, I'll say, hey, we're just going to do 117 and then see if they can do it. If we always have half of them that can't finish or more than half, then we just go, okay, you have 4.
I like that. I was trying to think of, I'm always trying, what are things we can do to maybe pull a little bit more out of them and really show them that they've got more that they can give. And this could be in a bunch of areas. And I like the idea, like, I don't know if in our budget I can promise all the guys Kobe's. Like, I don't think I could do that, but what could I offer? What could I do within our rules that we have and with our organizations, and but to maybe extrinsically pull a little bit more, because ultimately what we want is for them to be able to make the 17 because they can do it,
Mhm.
because they're capable, because they pursue excellence. But sometimes they maybe don't even know. It's like the people that never thought the 4-minute mile was possible until one dude did it, and then a bunch of people started doing it. It's like once we get that, I'm trying to think of what are ways that we could do that. I like your idea of, hey, if we get this, we're done, and if not, we've got something else. But maybe, I don't know, maybe a shortened practice or a protein bars that we have in our thing. I don't know. I'm
Mhm.
trying to think of something I can do
Yeah.
just to push them past their limit.
And usually we don't run, we try and run during drills, just like about
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
else does now. And the days of let's get on the line at the end of practice, I think are over for most coaches. I know there's still coaches that probably do that, but if they don't do Sweet 16, but they might have something where they have for how
Yeah.
many that's their carrot to make a layup, right? And everybody wants to make the layup, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. That's where we're going to have extra conditioning. So we try and condition.
I think that's a great idea too. And what we did this fall was try to get a baseline of conditioning in, because telling the guys that, one, I mean, no amount of running you'll do in the fall is going to make you ready for practice, and practices are going to get you close to a game, but nothing really gets you in game shape like playing in games. And so we're slowly trying to build that way. And so that was the fall, was taking this idea of you call Sweet 16s, our UNLVs, and starting them off really easy with four fours in 15 seconds. You guys can all
Mhm.
do this. And then
Yeah.
we slowly start to ramp it up. But one, two, I got like you, I don't want to spend a lot of time just running to run. I'd rather do it within our practice. But in the fall, building just a baseline at least, and then slowly building in that mentality of we run to win. I don't really like running as a consequence too much. Do more push-ups because we want to run to win. And so I don't want that to be something they dread. But then there's always that time where, man, if we want to get a little bit more competitiveness out of this, okay, there's going to be some type of running at the end of this. And maybe we get a little more juice out of them for that in season.
Yeah. I will pull out a Sweet 16 to see where they're at baseline wise. And about, I don't know when it was that we pulled it out this year, it was at least 3 weeks ago. And I was like, okay, because when we do the Sweet 16, I have 2 groups going. First group goes for a minute. When their last person crosses, then the next group can go for a minute. And when they cross, then they go 45, 45, 30,
Yeah,
30.
that's the rest. Yeah.
Right. So they get that rest. So it's 5-minute run basically. And I always say, okay, let's see where we're at, see if we can finish. And usually the first time you do it, it's like there's always somebody dragging or a group. And we did it the first time 3 weeks ago, and every one of these guys crossed. And I'm like, whoa, we're in better shape than I thought. So that was a good baseline. And they
Yeah.
our kids, we don't have that. We always talk about the weakest link. You don't want to be the weakest link, and you have to help that weakest link so that doesn't happen. And so if you have a big kid who maybe isn't going to possibly do that, adjust it for that particular player. But there's always usually somebody that you have to adjust it for. And that's our group we have this year. They can run. So that's nice to see.
So that is nice. And I think things like what we're talking about are good substitutes for some of the things that maybe you and I did as players back in the day. Like the mile run, for whatever reason, was just a marker for what the basketball players should do. Except in my experience, I don't run a mile in a game. I may run that distance in sprints, but they're more short burst and laterally than or forward, but not a long stride like that. And so I think maybe we take out things like that and we add in more of these. Yes, they're going to run, and there's a conditioning component. There's a team component to it. They're learning good teamship. While like I always try to encourage them, as soon as you cross, your job's done. Zoom out. It's all about them, your teammate. And so I get to learn a lot about who they are. Is like, are they still bent over? Are they looking up at the ceiling? Are they quiet? Or are they tough enough to clap their hands and still count for their partner? I think those are maybe better ways, in my opinion, coach. And for anybody that does the mile, that's cool. Like I'm not, no worries. But I think there's things like that we can do, may even contribute to our team's success more.
Yeah, I believe that too. I think the mile run used to be like a deterrent for some kids at tryouts. That's about it. I mean, like I don't want to go run the
That's a
mile.
good idea.
I'm not going to go out for basketball because they're going to run the mile, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
Coach, you had something a little bit ago. You said you have this size coming next year. What does that do for you as a coach? Because I don't really know what you like to run or at what systems that you have in place offensively or defensively. But will you be kind of sticking to what you've always done and maybe making small adjustments with those guys? Or and I'm amazed by the guys that can make big changes to philosophy or what they like based on their players. I wish I was smart enough to do that. What do you think? How will that affect you next year?
I think because right now they're playing JV basketball and they might play more of a 1-3-1 zone or a 2-3 zone to protect the middle. And but you can still, I mean, we basically play man to man 97% of the time.
Yeah.
And offensive coach that I have now is as a coach that we used to coach against each other in our league. And then he quit coaching and brought his kids over to our school. His daughter's a senior at Boise State, killing it over there. And she's doing well. And now his son's a junior for us playing. And so I just said to him, I said a few years ago, I want you to coach with us and I want you to just run our defense. You do whatever you want. Do what you do because I hated playing against your teams. So, and he's a man-to-man coach. So I'm actually trying to get him to run just a few more possessions of zone just to keep people off balance. And our kids we have that are big are kids that actually can man up still. So it might not dictate them playing more zone, but I guess especially this one kid who's a sophomore right now, who's 6'8", heck, who knows how tall he's going to get, is about 5. That's probably going to be pretty good size before he's done too. And then a junior right now who's 6'7", much growing he has left. And he has a little brother that's about 6'5", so who's a freshman. So we got, yeah, we're spoiled with athletes at our school. Don't get me wrong. We win not because of me as a coach or any of us as coaches or teachers or principals. It's because we have kids that come through our building year after year after year that give us a good chance to win. But yeah, the size coming through lately is going to be different.
Offensively, do you typically run through the block or have two bigs on the floor? So will that be a pretty easy change or not change, but transition?
Oh, right now we have those two can be on the floor at the same time right now. Sometimes they come in and share time, mostly man as well. And it's usually
Yeah.
a 1-3-1 where we can take that big kid at 6'7" and put him out 6'8" kid in the middle of it. So and you get your quick guard on the baseline. But two more is just we're spoiled with that.
The college lineup.
Yeah.
That's not in Waco Midway right now, but we'll get there. You made a good comment though about I appreciate the humility with the good athletes that you have and basketball players and saying it's not you, but I also think that there are a lot of schools that do have talent but don't win. And so there is something to being able to coach good athletes and good talent and have the plan and have the culture together. And it seems like you had that nice mix of both.
That's something where I first started coaching in Ronan, Montana. It's on the western part of the state over by Flathead Lake. And that's I had some guys buy into everything I told them. I was a single guy. I spent more time with them than anybody in my life. Probably I still talk to those guys on a weekly basis. And Some of them become coaches. One of them's the women's coach for the Lady Grizz in Montana. It's it's like if we're going to win here, because the school I was at, Ronan, was not a place where they wanted to get out of that town as fast as they could. They wanted to graduate and get out of there as fast. It took about 2 years to do that. As kids bought into what we were trying to do as a coaching staff. And I grabbed one of the ex-coaches there that was in his 60s at the time. And he'd been around. First job is, hey, we need to be an important place. And so then it was a place, like I said, good years, you'd finish third in the league, state title, and kids that wanted to play college basketball, and they took it over culture wise. And then when I came to Billings, I came in and coached at a big school, 2,000 plus kids. And they were like, hey, good year, finished third in the league, not even at state. You get to the state tournament, great. But again, we're like, hey, what can we do to build culture and have it be, which, like I said, we're blessed with kids. We have the athletes. And so it's kind of we just carried over no matter what. That's way more important than I always tell the parents at the parent meeting. I mean, you're going to, on your deathbed, are you going to be laying there and saying to your son, man, I wish you would have played more. I mean, it's going to be, or one more, or I wish you would have won that state title game, or I think it's going to be more about how much you love each other. And that's about it. So what are we going to do is learn through basketball and sports in general to be better husbands and sons and friends and things like that. And then the winning will take care of itself, which in our building, yeah, if we take third in divisionals or in our division or league, that's a bad year now. I mean, you're supposed to take first or second every year, and which they do. I mean, and like I've told kids just the other day, it's like, hey, I don't have to be here. You don't have to be here. This program's going to still roll on, and they're still going to teaching them the life lessons. His focus is on that, and the winning usually takes care of itself. Even if you're at a school like Ronan, which
All right, Coach, I want to go, if you don't mind, going back. What's the name of the school you referenced a little bit? You were worst to first in 3 years.
it's called Ronan. It was Ronan, Montana. It's just south of.
Okay. So, coming into my first year at Midway from a school that I'd been for 12 years and kind of went through those growing pains early on and then really solid culture over time, but great kids too. My son graduated last spring and he's playing basketball down at Trinity in San Antonio, a D3 school there. So we had a few players like that, but really special culture. And I've done brought over a lot of things, but also try to be conscious of these kids at Midway. What are some of the things that they already like? And I don't have to make it exactly like my last school, but I do think what you're talking about there, I may be going through some similar things. The guys are working really hard. We're making good changes. We're not seeing the outward success, that when you look back over your, through the years on max preps, that record at the top, you just basically, you can kind of say a lot based on that record. Well, that won't show very much, but we are getting better. We've been really competitive, but you said it was a few years. When you take me back, what were some of those things you felt like you did initially at that place to get them believing, to get them feeling like this is the place to be?
Well, one thing I tried to let him know, and the reason I first started coaching is I played in high school and every sport and as much as I could. A small college at Montana Tech in Butte, Montana. I had a coach there after the first week is this stuff. And I felt like I didn't get that. And he was a tough Bobby, was from Indiana, Ball State he went to, and he was a big Bobby Knight guy himself. But I mean, it was in tough love, but I just loved it. I was like, I want to coach. And I had to tell him at the end of the year that so I can be a teacher and a coach. And they didn't offer that at Montana Tech.
Mhm.
It's engineering school. And so he had inspired me to leave his program and go to, when I went to Ronan as the head coach, I was there as an assistant coach for 3 years. I watched the culture and I just wanted to inspire. I wanted to inspire them to get out of, go to college and become a basketball player because it can take you places. And excuse me, but I just wanted them to have the best possible situation. And that would be, you have to spend time in the gym. And like I said, I was single. I spent mornings, nights. I mean, we had 5 open gyms in the morning a week. And then we would play during the weeknights. I'd have certain phone calls at god awful hours where it's the principal saying, the alarm's going off at the school. Your kids are in there. And then I'd run over there. It'd take me 3 minutes. It was a small town. And then those guys, the ball bounced down the hallway and went past the line that the alarm sits at, And so I'm like, guys, you got to close these doors if you're going to be in here.
Right.
And the principal would come and be like, this is the third time you need to keep these guys. I'm like, listen, it's better than them out doing something stupid. No, one of us will be in here when it wasn't an open gym time. So they did. They bought into all that stuff, and I just talked to one of them last night on the phone, and a guy, he's a very special player I had who came from nowhere, and he called me last night because he's like, I'm just happy to have been part of those first games. And I'm like, he's like, man, we did everything you told us, and look what it got us. And I'm like, I stole all that stuff. It's not me, but that was just the one I want, inspire for them to go out and do something special with their lives. And they were in a place, like I said, a town where kids didn't want to live there after they graduate. They want to get out of town. And it took us a few years of just preaching to them and, hey, you can do this. You can go be a college player, but you got to do this, and this. You got to work hard. You do have the talent. We have the talent. And 4 kids go on and play college basketball in a 3-year span. So it was, they did that themselves. I can tell them, things about being better. So all I did was study the game, went to clinics and asked a lot of questions. And these kids, they put the time in. They did it together as well. I always try to preach with them. You can be in the gym, but where's everybody else? Because you can't do this by yourself. You need everybody here doing this. And everybody did come. The great thing is by year 3, morning open gyms. And I'm not going to lie, school and sitting along the bleachers, watching our open gyms. And it was something to see. And those kids played for the state title that year. And it was crazy how fun it was. My 5th year, those kids, like I said, we were worst to first in 3 years, but then never got over the hump to get to the state title game until year 5. So it was crazy to watch them, people coming to watch our school. So that was fun.
I was trying to think of congrats on 400, by the way. That's
Oh,
incredible.
thanks.
And like you said, you talked about all the players that you had and how they made it possible. But there's a lot of people that probably have the ability or the skill to do it as long as you have, but then, man, to actually do that, to stay in the fight, to weather the storms, to go through all the things as in education that sometimes isn't fun, but to stay in it like you have and be faithful. So congrats on that. That's awesome.
But
And
you got
then
to
I was
be in
trying
the
go
long.
ahead.
This just doesn't happen anymore. Like you're saying, I mean, I think I stay in it. My son's a sophomore now, and I didn't get into coaching because
Right.
they weren't even a twinkle in my eye then. But now that's kind of the reason why I want to stick with it
Yeah.
as long as I can is for them. I don't think there's enough coaches that hang around, and they should hang around because they're good coaches. And so I'm either dumb enough or stupid enough or not smart enough, which all mean the same thing, to keep doing this. I have players that motivate me to stay in it. I've been lucky.
The nugget I tried to take away from some of the things that you did early on there because like I said, I'm following up a coach that was in it for 30 years. He's incredible, a great leader, great communicator. Lucky to call him a friend. I lived in Dallas, and what Dallas to Waco is about 2 hours. But I played at Baylor, and so living at kind of being in this area was very familiar. But he retired after 30 years and had done some great things here. So coming down and it's the 6A public school, the biggest classification down here. And but like I said, changing styles, changing culture, it is going in the right direction. But maybe, and it's kind of like I tell shooters this all the time because we'll work on some things and they're like, Coach, when do the makes come? You keep telling me the makes are going to come. My answer to them is, man, it takes what it takes. Like, who knows? You just keep pounding the stone, right? And so when do the wins come? When do these things who knows? Like, it takes what it takes, but you gave those guys opportunity. You were there to open the gym. And because we could tell everybody, hey, yeah, college basketball, it's possible for you. improving, having this program like the way you want it, it can happen for sure. But they don't have keys to the school. Are we going to bet on them getting to the rec, getting to Lifetime, getting to, wherever that gym is? I don't think we can do that anymore. That has changed where just going to play pickup down at the local rec center, that's not happening like it used to. So I think we have to be the ones that create that opportunity. It sounds like that's what you did.
Understand.
Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Grip Spritz. Grip Spritz makes the annoying parts of coaching easy. Stop peeling off sticky sheets every time a player subs in. Grip Spritz provides game-long grip with no in-game maintenance at half the cost of a traditional sticky pad. The Grip Spritz court mop ensures your court is clean, safe, and ready to play on instantly. Weighing less than 10 pounds, anyone on your team or staff can clean the entire court in under 10 minutes. JAMODI podcast listeners save 10% with code JAMODI at gripspritz.com.
It's your team if they aren't.
Yeah. When I was at McKinney High School, it's another public school in Dallas-Fort Worth. As a varsity assistant, we had a 9 and 22 year where we were some Bobby Knight motion, playing in the half court, scouting our opponents, just knew them so well, knew every call and play. 9 and 22. We had a smaller team coming back, a little bit more skill, wanted to spread that thing out, play a little faster with some dribble drive. And then my head coach wanted to press. And so we kind of put this together, but it was this idea that we had, and I know others have had this, but we wanted to shoot more threes, have better shooters. Well, if you don't recruit, then how do you get those? You just hope that they move in, hope that these kids are doing it. And that we had that idea of we have to build it. Like we have to build shooters. How do you build it? Well, you make that a huge emphasis for what you do on a daily basis. But then, like you said, you go back to giving them time and you create kind of like with the Hog Weasel game or with the Panther games. You create in your culture things that they have to achieve or challenges that they get to be in. And one that we started to do, and this isn't like this is very common, I think, but it's a 10,000 shot challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make 10,000. And then if you do that, you get a t-shirt. But then I learned from a guy, well, shots aren't enough. We want to count their time. And so he talked about the 300-hour challenge. And the 300-hour challenge is from spring break all the way to the end of the summer, 300 hours worth of work. And that can be weight room, that can be select ball. Because, what makes players better? Being in the gym more and hearing different voices and playing in different styles. And so but if they play multiple sports like you talked about, doing early on, well, then let's honor that time. So if they go to track, yeah, you get an hour for your track practice towards your 300 hours. And so all of that stuff to me is how we create that belief, that belonging. They have something that they're constantly working toward and achieving. And then just got to believe, right, coach, that at some point it'll translate, it'll come together.
The 10,000 shot club, we have that too. And there's a direct correlation with teams that do that and the 2 state titles. And my first one I ever won, 19, we had about 4 or 5 kids that completed 10,000, 2 kids complete 15,000, and 2 kids complete 20,000 in the off season. So it was no surprise that those kids were ready to win. Now those kids also lost 3 straight state title games leading up to that senior year, which they were just not going to let it happen. But there's a direct correlation with how much time they put. I stole all that from the late, great Craig Finberg here in Montana 15 years ago of pancreatic cancer, but he started shooting workout in the 5 Ps. Proper performance prevents proper preparation prevents poor performance. And that's stuff that I've been doing since I was just a coach back in those kids in Ronan used to do it. Now it's hard to get these kids to do it. What it takes 34 times to get, because it's 300 makes a workout. So you have to get 34 workouts in to hit 10,000. And it's hard to get them to do 34 workouts, let alone
300 makes. What do you mind sharing what's in that workout?
Well, you start out with Mikan, 10 Mikan, then you do 10 short. And it varies. I have like 3 different workouts. of the same 3 different 300 shot workouts.
Yeah, it
And
gets them to 300. Yeah.
you do time that you do time yourself on it and to
Mm.
see, try and break your record each time you go out. Like this one kid that played for me in Ronan still has that record and coaches at high
Wow.
school, whose son's an animal, by the way. He's a senior in high school, point guard, but he would do it every day, sometimes twice a day. But you do mic short banks, baseline, 8-foot baseline shot. Then you do further away bank shot, and you got elbow shots. Then you make free throws. Then you go left hand dribble, spin out threes. And then you do with the X out or elbow layups, and it just kind of mixes it up. Everything's like 10 to 20 different shots, and you just kind of go from there all the way to like is your last thing on one of them. And there's some ball handling stuff in there for 5 minutes that you're supposed to do that counts towards your. Like I said, there's like 3 different workouts that are very similar, but 300 shots and time yourself and kind of go against the clock. So it's not just, and then it's all done by yourself because if you have a rebounder, you're not getting nearly enough of the pivot. First talk about like
Yeah.
how you pivot into this shot is a left foot on the inside pivot. None of this step back travel threes that these guys are doing these days to get
Oh, you're
recruited.
saying you don't ask them to do 5 double step backs on each side and then, yeah.
Not one of them. Matter of fact, I was telling one of my players the other day, I'm like, I don't even know how to do that. I would probably sprain an ankle trying to do what you
That's
guys
right.
do. And I played
Yeah.
college basketball at a small college, but I never once did that. I think if I ever tried it, I'd have gotten pulled out of the game. Just if you're having to do that, you probably should pass the ball, and if you have to do it at the end of a shot clock, that's different. But sure enough, after I told my team that the other day, my son does it in a game. But it was at the end of the shot clock and he makes it and he like looks over at me like, I didn't mean to do that, but I had to.
That
But
was a message. That look was a message for sure. Yeah.
yeah,
See,
so,
I can do this.
but that workout, back to the workout, if you
Yeah.
can pivot on the inside foot, step 1-2 step into stuff and do this hard and you try and beat your time, your vertical jump is going to go up. Isn't it the shot? Everything just,
Yeah.
you become a more complete basketball player. So if somebody's asking, what do I need to do to improve? Well, you're going to improve your quickness with this drill, your jumping ability, your ball handling ability, and your shooting ability. And you're against the clock. So you're going to have to make it where you have to go fast. But you can't go too fast because you're gonna miss every shot. So you have to find that, they find that pace that they need to
Mine.
be in.
Yeah.
They can pick up the pace the next time and the next time. So it's like, hey, do the 10,000 shot workout. And it's no secret to the teams that have done it in the past and the teams that haven't done it. And especially if you're a team like days there, I'm like, sleep right. You gotta,
Yeah.
have phones back in those days, thank goodness, or probably wouldn't been as good. Those are getting in the way. I mean, that's a whole different story. So
That's a whole other podcast and
yeah,
some things that I probably don't really even understand the full effects and stuff. They're coming out now. But yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. The kids that are sitting in my classroom don't know a time where they didn't have a screen or a phone or a tablet or anything like that. So I always joke around with them and say, well, guys, being from the 1900s, we didn't have this or that. And they always, that bugs them when I say that, which I don't know why, but Coach, this is such good stuff because I've done the 10,000 make challenge, and at my old school we had a board that they had to keep their tally going and stuff, and it was in increments of 100 throughout the 10,000, but I it was up to them how they did it. And it was like honor code. I trust that you guys are going to be not just saying about 1,000, just mark it. Did that happen? Probably. But at the end of the day, if 80% of them are getting close to that number they're talking about, I'm good with that. Love for everybody. But to my point there is with a little bit more structure, maybe giving them, like you have those 3 workouts, giving them more options of, okay, which one are you going to choose today? That one? No problem. Get it done. And when you're done with that, that's your 100. I don't know why I've never thought to do that because it would just be, it's kind of like anything else. Take what we want them to do anyway, but then make it fun. We're not tricking them, but just kind of Jedi mind trick them into this is what they want to do, even though it's us. And so I like that idea. I'm going to probably borrow that. And then also, like you said, for our 10,000, everybody gets a dry fit. And on the back, it says 10K shooters, but the E is a 3 in the shooters. And so and it's a different color, so it pops a little bit. But then I've gone to 15,000, you get a long sleeve, and then had a kid do 20,000. He got a performance fleece quarter zip, and it had K on it right here. You would have thought that, I mean, that was worth so much to him. But anything we can do to add more meaning to this. At the end of the day, what do you and I want? We want them to shoot more. We want to make more shots we play, because offense wins. That's what Joe Crispin says. One of my favorite books, Offense Wins. But I love that, Coach. I'm going to borrow that for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome how you've given out the stuff, because that's a carrot. I mean, some kids just eat it alive, and you'd like to have them do it without having
Sure.
anything,
Yeah.
right? So that's really good.
But there's another motivation to that also is, I want our gear out there. I
Mm.
want them wearing Midway basketball shirts everywhere. And so one of the things that, when I first got here over the summer, we were at open gyms, and I just noticed it was nothing. It was all random stuff. And I was like, when we come to open gym, fellas, what do you think about wearing Midway basketball gear? When you come, wear a shirt, wear whatever you want, but they're like, Coach, I don't really have anything. And that's not, I mean, they probably did. So this isn't an attack on the former coach or anything, but that is something that I've always thought is, I don't mind stressing my budget out and getting creative with some sponsorships and things to get these guys some gear. So there's going to be some motto t-shirts. I ask our seniors to come up with motto shirts. They each get to choose one. I don't care what motto they choose. I don't care what the quote is, what they say, as long as it has Midway, our logo on the front, Midway basketball, and a motto. And there's just so many of those ways, like the Hog Weasel shirt, so many things that we can do. This is one coming up for everybody, since we're in, it's January right now, March Madness coming up. Every year they have the Under Armour, Nike, or Adidas team shirts that all the teams wear in March Madness. You can see them on the bench. Well, I get what those are. I put them out, and our team votes on it. Which one do we want? And whatever one votes the most, gets the most, we create that version of it for Midway, and they get that shirt. And so, to me, there's another motivation besides the carrot of, I just want them wearing our stuff.
And that's funny you're saying this, because when I moved to Billings 24 years ago, and there's 3 big high schools here. Billings West High School is the poster child of winning. Okay. And where I came was this senior high school, and then Skyview High School. But senior was the team that, like I said, you have a great year, you take third. If you're at Billings West, you have to win every year. Us at Billings Central, but we're a small school, Billings Central, with 350 kids. All these schools have 200 or 2,000 plus kids. When I first moved here, all I saw was Billings West t-shirts out there. And like you just said, it's so funny you're saying that. Okay, I never saw any Billings Senior Bronx. We're the Bronx. Never saw any of that stuff. So our fundraiser every year since then, our kids are to go out, and they have a little stake in fundraising. They need to sell 5 or more t-shirts as best they can. Some do, some don't. Some kids sell 30, and they're supposed to sell them not to just your family, to go to the school, sell them to teachers, sell them to other students, sell them to relatives that are in town. We want our t-shirts out there. I want to see Billings Senior t-shirts put out there. And so we started doing that. Then I gave out, like, whoever has the most, like, because there's long sleeve and short sleeves that are different prices. So whoever sells the most money, you get a gift card to Shields. Whoever sells the most t-shirts, you get a gift card to Shields. And then we'd have a little ceremony like, hey, here's who sold the most, hand out the gift cards. And so those kids have to have a little stake in their fundraising. Plus, it gets those shirts out there, like you're saying. And so I started doing that, and we still do that today. As soon as we make our teams, we put that message out there. We have like you're talking, a motto. And sometimes the kids help do it. Sometimes I just do it. This year's is Proverbs 27:17, which is iron sharpens iron. And that's on the shirt. And we sold them a fundraiser, make a couple $1,000s. But the big thing is you get shirts out with our
That's right.
community. They say Billings Central on there and spreading that. I mean, that's so funny you're saying that because that's the first thing we did was they're like, oh, we got to sell shirts. Well, yeah, we need to get our shirts out there. We need to get our
Well,
brand out there.
it's if culture really is how you do everything, then it's not just in how we practice, it's not just in how we play, it's the way we feel about the place that we show up every day. And so the Midway High School was built in 2002, so everybody still calls it around here the new school, but in my mind, 2002, that's not new anymore. I was in college then, like,
Yeah.
that's old. So there are parts of the school's beautiful, but there are parts that are outdated and things in the locker room, things within our hallways, things even in the gyms, and again, nothing against, but you walk into the auxiliary gym and the foam pads were almost like falling off, and the rims had Pete W's missing, the little links missing, and so just making a list of but I don't think this is just when you take over a new place. I think this is every spring. All right,
Well,
what's not excellent around here? What can we do and how can we leverage relationships? Trying to get a new score table at Midway right now. Working on it right now. We're putting in a pool at our house. I just reached out to the pool guy. Hey, what are your thoughts on getting us a new score table? You'll get to advertise it on it for life as long as it's there. What are things we can do? And Kevin Eastman was the one that shared that. I was honored, golly, blown away to have a talk with him, and
yeah.
he talked about one thing that Doc Rivers did when they first got to Boston together was looked and saw with everything that you have, how can we make it excellent? Because you can't just say, yeah, build a new locker room. Okay. Like I said, but my wife and my son and I went into our varsity locker room and we repainted, we sanded them down and painted those lockers so that the paint wasn't chipping off. And then we were able to the lights were out in the bathroom. So I put in a work order and after a few reminders and asking, got those lights fixed. There was one shower that didn't have a shower head on it. It was just shooting out a straight stream. Got a shower head on it. To me, those are things that over the long haul, along with how we practice and how we talk to each other and how we shoot and all this stuff, making it the place to be, coach. I think I'm right in the middle of that fight right
That's,
now. I'm excited for where it's, in 2 or 3
yeah.
years when we look back and, that list is a lot shorter
Yeah.
than I have right now.
Well, the Nike clinic in Vegas, I don't know if you ever attended that. It was such a great
I
clinic.
want to. Yeah.
It used to be the best. I mean, the lineup of coaches that would come through there. And one saying I still have in my office is make it the big time where you're at. And that came from,
Yeah.
I can't remember who said that. Just like in Ted Lasso, when he's like, hey, we need to fix those shower heads. That's what made me think of that. I mean, Ted
That's
Lasso was the best. I mean, I
no
try,
doubt. Yeah.
pattern a lot of things off of what Ted Lasso says.
I'm looking for make the big time. I'm looking for that book right now.
Yeah,
But
make,
it's by a guy named Frosty. It's a
oh,
coach
yeah.
named Frosty, and but make the big time where you are. So many nuggets in that. The original is like $60 on Amazon because they didn't make. But then somebody came out with another one. Love, but that was at my previous school. Like you're talking about, it was a small private school. We had 375 kids, and but that was the deal: is how do we make this the big time? Well, now I feel like, coach, I kind of am at the big time. Like this is 6A basketball, but I feel like we're having to make the kind of the same changes a little bit of how do we make this special? How do we make these guys walk in and feel, it'd probably not easier, but feel like it's moving even quicker if the winds were coming along with it. But that's where the patience really comes in. And my wife has done a great job of reminding me that I'm playing the long game here. Another thing we're doing is we're really focused on skill work right now. Skill work over plays, skill work over more scheme. And I had one coach on here, and I'm blanking on his name, say that if you're focused on skill work, you're focusing on your future. If you're focusing on plays, you're focusing on right now. And that doesn't mean that we don't have any offense or plays we run, but we're going to continue to have a chunk of that skill work time because it goes back to what you're saying is we're trying to make the big time where we are. Coach, this has already been an awesome talk. Before I get you out of here, we're going to do something called the speed round. This is quick questions, small, short things. The first thing that pops in your head, just blurt it out, get to know you a little bit better. Ready?
Okay.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Peanut butter and chocolate from Baskin Robbins, hands down.
No doubt. Greatness. One of the saddest moments was I think there was a Baskin Robbins by our old house, and for some reason or other, they used to do the warm peanut butter that even drizzle on top, and they stopped selling that. Like I think somebody got sick or something. I don't know. Somebody ruined it for all of us. That's what I know.
And on a
But
sugar
no,
bomb,
greatest shooter of all time.
Steph Curry.
Yeah,
I was going
hard
to say
not to
Reggie
say it.
Miller, but it's Steph Curry.
Yeah. In a game, do you stand up or sit down more?
Probably it's 50-50 now. I used to stand a lot, and now I'm getting old. I need to sit down. Sometimes it's by the team, sometimes it's by the water cooler.
Yeah, I like that. The top 3 dinner guests, any time period, can be outside of sports.
It's just kind of like the question of who the 3 other guys in the foursome golf. It would be Chevy Chase, Tiger Woods, and Michael Jordan.
Wow. That's a good one. A couple of those. But well, Chevy Chase, I don't think he's ever been chosen before. So that's a first right there.
Oh, he had to choose him.
Best basketball movie of all time.
Hoosiers.
Like that. Do players sit the rest of the first half with 2 fouls?
Well, up until this year, and now it's I don't do that. I tell them, I said first quarter, but you're going to play in the second quarter, so be ready. So if a kid picks up their second in the first quarter, then I sit him that quarter, and then I put him back in. Especially if it's on the ball and a dead ball, and I put him in. I try not to put him in on a dead ball if we're on defense. If they pick up their second foul in the second quarter, come out, but then they try and get them back in again just to keep them flowing with the game.
No, I like that idea too. Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Nice. What book would you give someone?
Book? Blind Your Ponies. If you've never heard of it, it's
I haven't.
oh my gosh, you better blind your ponies.
Mind
So
your
this is
ponies.
This is about a small school in Montana. Blind Your Ponies means the old legend was that and to commit Harry Carey, you would blind your and this is a guy tells a story as a coach that particular war party went out to in a Native American group here near Billings. Men went on a hunting party, not a war party. And when they came back, they found this to their village. And so these boys and the men blinded their ponies, and they would ride their horses off the cliff to basically to join their families in heaven. And they believed that much in them. This coach uses that analogy of each other. And he tells that in the book at a pregame speech. And it's based off of a real city in Montana, but it's a made up story of basketball, and the writer's really, really good, and that is a book.
Can't wait, man. I'm gonna get on Amazon. My wife's gonna see another charge.
It's the
And
best. Really good.
yeah, can't wait on that. Do you guys have a shot clock there?
We do 35.
Well, in Texas, with all these cities and all the good basketball, we don't have one. And so for you, I would imagine, I don't know how many coaches that have a shot clock would say, I wish I didn't have one. But for high school basketball, shot clock or no shot clock?
We go to summer league or anything in the summer now, and they don't have a shot clock. It's brutal. It's brutal to see a team make.
So just think about that, but all year long. All year long.
Mm.
That's what it is.
And we just
It's
got
brutal.
our shot clock about 3 years ago.
Okay.
And so I've coached in both, and it doesn't make anything worse. It only makes it better, especially end of game situations. Now it does make coaches coach a little bit better at the end of games, but it's definitely the best thing.
Delay game with 3 minutes left, not happening. You still have to execute. You still have to get 7, 8s, or 9s or good shots. Yeah, you still have to do that, but it's different. Favorite place you'd like to travel or you'd like to travel?
Uh, that I want to travel or I already have?
And a favorite place that you traveled. I butchered that. Yeah. Favorite place
Okay.
that you've traveled.
Hawaii.
Hawaii. That's my wife's and I. That's our place. That's our place. Yeah. One day, coach. Every time that we go there, we try to go every summer. I work basketball camps and she does things too that so we can go there every summer since we got married, 14 years ago. And we every time we're there, we see high schools and we figure they need she teaches too. They need coaches. And so there's got to be this day where we go over and we just don't come back. But I'll need a secure job by then over
Yeah.
there. They want to run a gun there too, right, coach? They can
Oh,
get
yeah.
100 makes,
Yeah. They have
but then they'll
outdoor
go
gyms.
surf.
They have
Yeah,
outdoor gyms. It's awesome.
that's right. Yeah. Um, two more in basketball. Who's the GOAT?
Michael Jordan.
Even with your Kobe experience.
Yeah, and I've never seen a driven man like Kobe in my life.
Yeah.
Never been around anybody who talks the way he talked. But no, Michael Jordan is. I mean, Kobe's the I think he and LeBron are tied for second. LeBron, what he did, and still kind of doing. But and I'm a Laker fan too. But um,
His numbers at his age are incredible.
yeah,
Incredible. Yeah. Last one. If this was your last year of coaching, what would you do more of?
sit back and enjoy it. Just sit back and enjoy my team because we're pretty good. And I mean, we're good. We're good every year. I mean, but this is a team that could really get it done and win us another one, and just to sit back and enjoy.
What do you think? What do you think stops us from doing that? Because I can't remember many years where I did that.
I've thought about that. It's like you think you gotta control too much, or I'm talking especially in games. At practices, I got her to enjoying that, but in practice, you got to be on top of every single thing you do, just to keep things moving, and there's no lull, downtime, or anything to enjoy
Yeah.
something. But games is what I would really like to just sit back and enjoy. This thing that we believe are doing in a game. Have to believe that it's going to work out, I guess. And it's hard to do that. So yeah, it's tough. One time maybe, and that was, I mean, they did everything I told them, and they just got to sit down, and I sat most of every game, just kind of legs crossed and enjoyed the game. And I wish I could do that again.
Coach, this was so enjoyable for me. What I love about our profession is that you can have an hour and a half long talk with somebody that is very far away from where you coach, that you've never really met before or have very little connection with. But man, you can feel like I know this guy, like we're going through the same things or we've gone through the same things. Thank you so much for sharing and for your time. This was awesome, man.
Well, appreciate it. It's been fun. Yeah.
The JAMODI podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products. Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.